And we turn now to Warren Dean Fulton. And Warren is one of the hosts of Poetic Justice and Poetry New West in New Westminster, British Columbia, of course. He works in the film and TV industry. He is on IMDb. So if you look him up, you'll see him there. He's an assistant location manager, and he also enjoys traveling when he can with his partner. And traveling, doesn't that sound wonderful? The really good thing is that he's here with us and he didn't have to travel a bit and we didn't have to go to New West.
Jacqueline, you're muted.
Have I said all that? Muted? All of it?
Just the last little bit when it's something about traveling and then you were muted.
Okay, all right. Nobody had to travel nowhere for us to enjoy each other's company from near and far. So without any further ado, we welcome Warren Dean Fulton.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me okay?
Sure can.
Loud and clear.
All right, awesome. This is my little avatar. This is me in a few years. All right. Okay. Let's we're gonna pretend that this reading is a time travel device, and we're gonna go back to when I lived in Ottawa and I first began writing poetry in my teens and early 20s. And one of the poems that I wrote and then did a whole series on and created a nice little mini broadside or poetry postcard is this poem is actual size. So there it is. It's actual size. Okay, now the first chapbook that I put out with my small press called Puka Press is Love's Lost and Found, which came out back in 1994. And these are a small series of poems called Fragments. Friends claim I give out love like Pez. Pedestrians pass us on the sidewalk, never guessing that we were once lovers. I've heard some say romance is dead. I think it's just been kneed in the groin. A poem. I'm so lonely here without you. And this is called Heart. If it isn't broken, it hasn't been used. And why shouldn't I get plastered? When you break a bone, it gets set. I'm just setting a broken heart. So that was Love's Lost and Found, published in 1994 by Puka Press, back when it was located in Ottawa at 1302 Station B, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. So, and it was put out in an edition of 100 copies. And I think that, I don't know, I think this might be the last one. All right, moving on. I did a broadside on, I was doing a reading in Toronto, and I was traveling by Greyhound on the day that Timothy Leary died. And so I wrote this poem on the Greyhound bus. And when I got to Toronto and did my reading at the Idler pub, right beforehand, I went to a Kinko's and designed this and created this little trippy triptych of some poems. And this is called TV poem number 7. So I guess I had written some other TV poems. That would mean 6 others prior to this. I can't find those. Anyway, so this is TV poem number 7. Starts off with the quote from Timothy Leary: "Tune in, turn on, drop out." Turn off your TV and turn on your lover, your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other. Turn off your TV and go to a show, the cinema, the theater, and make out in the back row. Turn off your TV and tune into a book, or write a book, live out a book. Turn off your TV and drop in on your friends, talk to your kids and listen to them. Turn off your TV, begin to live life again, be your own prophet and start a new religion. Turn off your TV and listen to me. If TV is your life support, I'd pull the plug. And this is out of a little magazine put out by Melissa Upfold of Sarnia, Ontario. And this is called Untitled. Such an original title, Untitled. I think it was one of maybe 10 poems in the 25, 30 years that I've been writing poetry that I actually entitled Untitled. Architects of painful songs, buildings from the ground up, all of tomorrow's skyscrapers, figurative tiers and towers, those twin temples of sorrow, your eyes are museums. Each tier a work of art, each song sung, a translation of a structure before demolition. And this is from Scrap Paper Poems. In the year 2001, my then wife said, you know, you've got boxes and boxes of poems and little things written on scraps of paper. You should do something with those. And so she said, you know, just put out some scrap paper poems. And I went, well, that's actually a good title. And so I bought like a whole bunch of this crumply paper look and produced this limited edition chapbook in a one-time printing in 2001 in a limited edition of 2001 copies. So yes, it's and here it is, 2020. I probably have 600-700 of these left, and I like to drop them off all over when I travel, just leaving them in public places for people to discover and hopefully appreciate. So this is called At the End of the Century, for Rob McLennan and Ken Norris. Its days are numbered, like it or not. Today is tomorrow's yesterday, curled up inside a skeleton embryo, nailed to the coffin of extinction. This was the century of giant steps forward, while leaving bloody boot prints in the garden, like falling back in the tar pits of the running long jump of progress. Progress. This was a century of world wars and the World Wide Web, of the global village and our world being led by village idiots full of sound and fury while conducting a seance. This was the century when we drafted up the Earth's epitaph, when the end began through our ecological apocalypse, as a global warning about global warming was largely ignored. This was the century we all put our planet in an extremely compromising position. Scratch that situation. All flags should be lowered and burnt in the name of a borderless public crisis. Over 4 billion anonymous statistics are digging a grave for Mother Nature. So much keeps happening right now, and urgency, atrocities, is and is and is our obituaries. and nothing has changed except everything that has changed. This was the century we played endangered species dominoes, testing the limits of balance. Roll up your sleeves, do the hokey pokey, chain yourself to a tree in the rainforest, do something. Don't just sit there watching TV as we commit massive suicide. This is our wake-up call. We all talk of the weather, we talk of the news, of darkness and disaster. What of our desire to live? History is being written now. Nothing can be postponed. The future is not what it used to be, not since the days our species first stood upright to take a look around at beautiful vistas have we hunched over so exhausted. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, and soon we shall all of us sleep with our ancestors as ecosystems unravel and some scream with their mouths shut, as the infinite universe spiraled heights circle like vultures round our tiny blue planet, waiting. Written 12/10/99. And all poets are kleptomaniacs. No poem stands on its own, but always in relation to others. All words are borrowed. Scratch that. Stolen. All writers, thieves. And all poets are kleptomaniacs, but most won't admit it. And here are a few fun little haiku from a little poetry chapbook called Rough Draft. Blushing, the trees undress. So much depends upon seeing what is right here now. Low moon next to the street lamp. Moths are confused. Wild flowers will not grow without rain. Drunken, smoky bar, decapitated bottles. Have another beer. And once again in rain, walking on puddles, purification. And this is a tiny little chapbook put out of California with a organization called Poems for All. This is Crickets in the City, a tiny collection of poems by myself. And God, my eyes are so bad. Poem starting with a line from a poem by Sylvia Plath. Love is a shadow, a silhouette of something somewhat proportional to its source that only the light of the other will reveal. Crickets in the city. If there are any, I haven't heard them. Over the deafening background noise of the sirens, traffic, trains, planes, and police helicopters, and all the disharmonious frequencies of this city in the 21st century, oh, to hear the mating chirp of the cricket instead of the binners rattling shopping carts down back alleys. Greener Grass, November 12th, 2007, for J.W. Curry. The world is not dead yet. Hallelujah. Sing Theranodes. The stink of booze hangs heavy on its breath, serenading everything. Praise be all the living that can still be found at 4 a.m. And this is out of a publication in Boulder, Colorado called Tiny Spoon. And this is a collaborative poem on memory, the title of which is Collective Memory. I remember. So I contributed to it as well as a number of other people. Yes, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a dozen people. Okay, collective memory. I remember stones strewn from overturning shoes. I remember vines corrupting brick when one was used in place of a gasp. I remember mistaken towns as plants and refineries and seeing the Midwest still underwater. The land remembers everything. We can remember only a fraction. Remember when we stole roses from Marie's garden to brew a love potion? She knew and let us get away with being thieving little witches. Remember the smell of trash burning in the backyard? Remember Charlotte didn't like robins? Never found out why. I remember the dreams, fantasies, and imaginations. Can you remember the names of every planet in order, the border between dream and sleep expansive as Jupiter? I remember the Portugal bar, lackluster television set receiving dismissive hands and curses, emptying pockets and presentations, grievances. I remember his laugh, I told them. I remember how you kept a harmonica in every drawer on every shelf. Your mouth never starved for song. I remember shyly waiting against the gymnasium wall for a slow song to be played to ask a cute girl if she'd like to dance, and that sick feeling in my stomach as I waited for her to nod her head and take me by the hand. I remember from the back seat watching the other rhythms, parallel chimes, geometrics, condolences. I remember wishing there were more colors to blend with. I remember a beach. Remember the taste of the summer air in Italy and the way my hands promised you tomorrow. I remember loving you the way a spell is cast, with abandon and always at a cost. I remember a giraffe dipping on stilt legs to drink between two elephants at a watering hole in Botswana. I remember my 5th birthday on a children's TV show, Popcorn Playhouse, proudly proclaiming when Klondike Eric asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, a fire truck. I remember a time before everything became McDonaldized and Disneyfied. I remember Saturday morning cartoons, breakfast cereals with the Smurf, Underdog, Scooby and the gang. I remember my eyes giving birth to tears of extreme joy as my wife was pushing my son out into the world, an angel paratrooper, and me cutting his soggy shoelace-like umbilical cord. I remember to celebrate. I remember when Barack Hussein Obama won the US election, becoming the 44th president, and how much hope I held for the future of the United States of America. I can't leave New York City because the city remembers me. Do you remember me? Remember the promises we made to return to where sand and sea met? You and me in carefree summertime? We remember beaches, all of us on the shores of our long ago. I remember a nostalgia for a future we never had. I remember looking through damaged funerary wrappings at the skeletal toe of a New Kingdom priest. I remember my mom coming into our room first thing in the morning and saying, "Sweetie, your dad was killed last night. Some bad men beat him up." I was 5, but I remember it like yesterday. I remember seeing him in the coffin at the funeral a couple days later. I don't remember almost climbing in because I wanted to be with him, but Mom tells me that's what happened, so I'm going to have to go with it. I remember so few things about him. Before the fateful night in June, a handful of memory flashes, most were good. I felt his love. It's weird how I remember his love when there is not much else to go on. I remember your name. It coagulates after your absence and trails from one yearning to another. I remember these are not the memories I had hoped to have had. I remember the fractured wishbone Roman candle remnants of the Space Shuttle Challenger as a heavenly cremation happened live over Florida. I remember walking high-rise building edges and bridge ledges, not caring if I fell. I remember when the world didn't seem so fucked up. I remember that Tuesday morning in September when live from New York, a big budget Hollywood disaster trailer played again and again on TV news channels as the Twin Towers were attacked and thousands of people died. This can't be real. This can't be real. I remember to let go. Thank you.
Oh my, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know, Warren Dean Fulton, just watching you unfold these poems from these tiny books and these big maps is a thrill in itself, but every single one of those had a lot of thought in it. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
And before we go any further, I'm going to consult my voodoo phone and see what it's time to do next. You see, I have this voodoo phone, and I got it when
yes.
You remember the voodoo phone?
Yes, I do. I love it.
Okay, so when you go to Warren Dean Fulton's Poetic Justice, he plays this game, and the game is, it's like a trivia game, and there's different prizes up, and for this fabulous piece of folk art, which is just amazing, all I had to do was answer this question. I want to see who here knows the answer to this question. I'd like to see, I'm going to put it on the gallery view, and anybody that knows the question, the answer to the question, I'd like you to raise your hand, okay? I don't have a voodoo phone for you, but just, I know, right? No, this baby's staying here. It's one of my prized possessions. All right, so the question is, which Welsh poet, Warren, all right, come on, Welsh poet, there's only one.
I know.
There's
only one?
I'm sure
Welsh
there are
poet.
more, and I'm sure the Welsh are very poetic. My brother-in-law's Welsh, but I was
That's
like,
your brother-in-law.
yeah, it was it was like, I know. It had to be Dylan Thomas. So I won
Yes.
the voodoo phone.
Yay.
I'm gonna call it out around Halloween, and I'm gonna call you Warren Dean Fulton.
Awesome.
Now, you may have a couple of questions for our two feature readers, and this is a good time to talk about them because we'll talk to them. We have a little Q&A here, so I want you to, open up your mic, and if you got a question about something that you heard here in our feature readers, we'd love to hear from you tonight. Carl, you always have some penetrating questions. I'm gonna ask one first.
I'll go for it.
Vicki, have you always been a writer of short fiction and fiction, or have you tried any other genres? I really love your fiction stuff.
Well, I've mostly written fiction, but I started out with poetry. But for a long time now, it's been short fiction, and now I'm trying to write a novel, which is quite funny because I don't know how. But anyway, yeah, that's what I like, short fiction mostly.
I'm rooting for you. Okay, any other questions?
I'm wondering, Pat Buckner, if you were the Pat Buckner that went to Viscount Bennett in Calgary, you were an influence for me musically, but I'm not sure.
Well, yes, I am.
Oh,
And who
wonderful.
are you? And
I'm
who are
Dale
you?
Works, and I remember you and Jeff
right.
played on the stage at Viscount Bennett. One of the songs was the Canadian Railroad Trilogy, and I don't know whether you did it or Jeff did it. But yeah, it was a big influence for me, and I'm a musician, and I'm just accidentally on here tonight, so hello.
Well, I'll put my email address up here and you can get a hold of me. I just reconnected with Jeff about 6 months ago.
Oh,
He's in Ottawa, so we can
nice.
have a little online discussion later on.
Hey, that's awesome. See, that's
That
what
is
we're
so
all about.
cool.
Connections, I tell you. All right, Carl, you got that question. You're dying to ask. Go
No,
ahead.
I have actually no questions. I was half listening to Vicki because I realized I could do two Zooms at once. I just wanted to get on and my question got answered on another one. Warren, have you always been writing what you've been writing? How did you start to write?
I don't know. I just was, and then I discovered other poets and realized that there's this huge community of poets from time immemorial, and was like, hey, I want to be a part of that. So I back in the 80s, I was like writing. In the 90s, I decided, hey, I'm going to be one of the, I'm going to coin my own term, which is, well, actually with my old girlfriend, Jennifer Amy, who came up with it, post-punk neo-beatnik. But I was also like, okay, I'm going to be one of the pre-apocalyptic poets. So like, I feel like we all have something to contribute and give a verse, and kind of like Dead Poets Society. I don't know. That was a big movie for me.
Awesome.
Vicky, do you have a name for your novel?
Well,
Wow, echoey. That's cool.
No?
Spooky.
Vicky's novel. There we go. We'll call it Vicky's novel.
I think we should we'll help you pick a name for it. Come back when you're ready to, when you're about finished, and we'll help you with the name.
I noticed Karen had her mute off a little while ago. Karen, do you have a question?
Micah has a question, so we'll start with Micah.
Micah.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, this question is for Warren. Warren, you have a very unique style, and I was wondering if there was someone in particular that you drew your inspiration from, if there was somebody who, started that flame within.
I'm heavily influenced by the beat writers. So Ginsberg and Kerouac, Richard Brodigan, Lou Welch. I don't know. And I also like the spoken word poets of the 90s and 2000s, those folks. My friend Rob McLennan is probably also an influence. I don't know. Probably every poet that I ever meet becomes an influence in some way, shape, or form.
Okay, Herb, you got a question, man?
No, it's already been answered. I was going to say, if he's influenced by all the poets he's met, then I'm one of them.
That's correct.
Herb, I think every poet is, aren't they?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was really well done, Warren. I like that.
Thank you.
Thanks,
nice. Herb.
Okay, just a quick show of hands. Yes, we got Darlene's got a question.
I don't have a question, but I'd just like to thank Vicki for her reading tonight. I haven't seen her in ages and ages. We went to university together, and our mutual friend Arlene told me to tune in tonight. So great. Hi, Vicki.
Oh, that's awesome. It's reunion night. Is there anybody else here that has a secret connection to somebody else? All right. That's fantastic. Darlene, it's so good to see you. That's really lovely. What a good story. Okay. And I see Ann Hopkinson's joined us. That's a jolly good show. Hello, Ann Hopkinson.
Hi, all. Glad to hear you and see you.
We've got some more open micers coming up tonight, and I just checking in. Do you wish to read, my dear?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I'll listen tonight.
He's a happy listener. All right.